The media has just started to report on a fact that I mentioned several months ago. But it's good to see that they've eventually caught up to what I've saying has been happening in front of our very eyes. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing. It's great to have so many people coming onto the channel, subscribing to the channel, supporting the channel, commenting, because this is all about really having a better planet in many different ways, whether that's Neuralink, I just made a video about that, whether that's electric vehicles, whether that's sustainable energy, whether that's electric cars, whether that's reducing emissions, whether that's being able to breathe clean air, which I think is pretty important, right? All the people who I've had arguments with about electric cars versus internal combustion engine vehicles, petrol, gas, diesel vehicles, when I point to the fact and say to them, do you like breathing in those emissions? Why don't we just walk over to the back of your car and you just stand there for 10 minutes and breathe in and have a smell? And I just want to remind you that those things you're breathing in are carcinogens. They're going to cause cancer to you. So if you stay there for long enough, eventually you will get cancer. I often tend to have a little bit of a change of heart after I say those kinds of things. I'll have a bit of a change of mind. They start to think, I don't really like it when people smoke cigarettes in my face, which is basically what we're all doing to each other. We're smoking millions of cigarettes in each other's faces every day. And now there's incontrovertible proof that those cigarettes do in fact cause cancer, which was pretty damn obvious, right? Even now people question this and they say, diesel causes cancer, really? And I think, really? You didn't know that? People literally are dropping dead when they work in fire stations in the US where, diesel fumes were a huge problem. Obviously, the fire stations are trying to do a range of things to combat that issue, but it has reduced people's lives and their quality of life by up to 15 to 20 years on average, which is insane, and killed millions of people in the process. So, like I said, electric cars, good. Renewable energy, good. BYD changing from internal combustion engines to electric, good. Very good. BYD has discontinued production of fuel vehicles, in other words, gas vehicles, petrol vehicles, etc. I reported that they discontinued production in December. No one else, obviously, until now has mentioned that. It's now the 5th of April. BYD is saying that's not true. Here's what they're saying. They have officially now stopped producing petrol-powered vehicles. Well, sort of. About just under half of the cars that they produced last month were plug-in hybrids, and just over half were fully electric vehicles, which is actually very, very significant. And it's incredible they were able to do this in the space of only 1 year. In line with their strategic development needs, BYD has stopped producing purely fossil fuel powered vehicles since the beginning of March. So apparently I was off by 2 months now. I don't know if this is correct, because if you look at their fuel-powered vehicle sales in January and February, they were like nothing. So if they had production lines producing them, those production lines were doing jack all for the months of January and February. And that doesn't add up to me. I could be wrong though. Who knows? BYD has said it's focusing on a few things. First of all, purely electric vehicles. Second of all, autonomous driving. Thirdly, battery vehicles, increasing the energy density of lithium iron phosphate powered vehicles, and ramping up manufacturing, which is all good in my book. Notably, BYD will continue one thing though. So if you own a fossil powered BYD vehicle, they will continue manufacturing parts and components for those vehicles so as not to leave people stranded. They're also going to offer ongoing service and after sales guarantees, as well as full lifecycle parts and components supply over the next 20 years. How many vehicles did BYD sell in March, which was a pretty tough month for Chinese manufacturers because, the Chinese government is still being extremely dictatorial and they shut down much of the country due to coronavirus. They're I think they might be the only country left on the face of the earth who believes that an eradication strategy is the correct way to go, which seems kind of crazy to me at this point, seeing as the rabbit is out of the bag. Everyone has it. Everyone's had it. Everyone's passed it on. It's one of those things now where it's become fairly benign, fortunately for most people. Remember, very important, very, very important. From the data I have seen, Nobody has died with high concentrations of vitamin D in their blood. So if you're susceptible to anything, if you have any like comorbidities or whatever, I'm not a doctor, but I have watched quite a few different programs from doctors who have done all the study on this. Make sure you have excess vitamin D levels. Now to do that, you need about 5,000 IU of vitamin D a day. If you supplement with K2 and you have too much vitamin D, that will help that process. It will help to stop the calcification that occurs in your arteries when the excess vitamin D can draw that calcium out and bring it into your arteries. So as long as you have enough K2 or if you have enough magnesium, that can help to balance your vitamin D levels as well. And remember, sun is extremely important for your immune system. So when you get sun, you actually are able to increase your melatonin levels at a cellular level, which is by far the strongest antioxidant known to man. So vitamin D and sun, extremely important. I'm just telling you this because in case you're either in winter or in a country where it's going into winter, well, obviously those periods of time, you're more likely to catch the coronavirus. And one of the interesting things that many people don't know is BYD actually became one of the largest manufacturers of masks and doctor masks in the world. So they're a company that's incredibly able to very, very quickly pivot into manufacturing different things as needed, which, as you can see, they're doing right now, right? They have a battery gigafactory, 100 gigawatt hour battery factory, which will come online by the end of this year. They also have a gigafactory to build cars, which will be producing vehicles within a few months. The factory itself has actually been finished now for more than a month. So fortunately, the proof is in the pudding, right? It's not just talk. BYD had completely zero fuel vehicle sales in March. In other words, they're all gone. Whatever stock they had sitting around in lots, it's all gone. In June last year, local media in China reported that BYD's planning for future fuel vehicles had been halted. So, yeah, they had plans and they went, you know what? That's stupid. Why are we investing anything into fossil fuel powered vehicles? This is retarded. The market doesn't want that. BYD chose correctly. What I can't understand is that BYD recognized this fact, right, in June of last year. Why has Toyota and many other car companies, Ford, not recognized that fact even now? I mean, I've just made videos recently, right, talking about Toyota's hydrogen engine, Ford's hydrogen engine. Not just that, many companies that are sort of on the quiet, still working on hydrogen, especially South Korean companies. What gives? It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, at that time, BYD said that by 2022, at the earliest, BYD will completely stop producing fuel vehicles. And obviously they kind of sped that process up because they say they stopped completely in February. I don't believe that. I think they actually stopped at the end of last year, because otherwise how on earth did they clear all their entire inventory of fossil fuel powered vehicles in January and February, right? If they didn't stop producing the vehicles until the end of February, it just doesn't actually mathematically make sense. So I call that they finished at the latest the end of January. But anyway, who knows? Now, BYD's CEO, Wang Chanfu, who I have a lot of respect for. If you want to know about him, I made a video about him, his life, where he came from. His parents died when he was very young. He was brought up by his brother and his sister. It's quite an interesting story. I'll put a link in the description below to that video. Check that out. He said that from the perspective of domestic and foreign environment and resources, the trend of electric vehicles replacing fuel vehicles is already set. It's done. It's finished. It's over. It's game, set, and match. Wang expects there will be a long transition phase in the development of the new energy vehicle market, from plug-in hybrids to pure electric vehicles. However, he did say he believes it's possible by the end of this year that could make up 40% of the entire Chinese car market, which, by the way, is by far the largest car market in the world. That, my friends, is the good news I have to share with you today. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again on the next one. Bye-bye.